he won by naturally drawing the Hexmage Depths combo, like game 1. He just happened to draw both pieces of that combo. Didn't win the match though. Oh wait, no, yeah, he did, because game 2 went for so long that it went to time. So he just drew out game 2. It was against Murphle, and
it got the match.
Yeah, it was kind of grueling to watch game 2. Game 1 was over in 5-10 minutes, and game 2 just went the rest of the
duration.
The rest of the game. And I think he even had Battle of Wits and just wasn't playing it for some reason. I don't even know. I don't even want to think of that anymore. So Ben Friedman, actually local guy, guy I actually know. He's done pretty well for himself recently. He looks like he's just playing looks pretty classic Call Blade or Twin Blade.
Twin Blade deck.
List, yep.
Yeah. And he's playing against
Matt Ferrando,
the Fran Dynamo himself, my boy, Matt Ferrando from New York.
And he's playing a Bant Blade list, right? Okay, and these guys, I think, are going to game 3.
Cool. Now, Matt Ferrando is somebody who, he's been on the PDQ circuit forever. Last year, I felt very bad. I drew with him in a PDQ in the last round. We were both X1. It was a 9-round PDQ, and we were both X1. And we drew in the last round, and he came in 9th.
Oh,
and
that's a
afterward, I had assumed that because we were both X1, we were both just locks, and I didn't even look at the standings.
Right.
And afterward, I felt very, very bad about it. Ferrando's a really good guy. He's a good player. He's been playing Bantblade
for a long time,
before it was in style.
I mean, when I think of I know that he's been playing, the Bantblade kind of thing. When I first heard of Bantblade, it was attached to Matt Ferrando, so
yeah.
I've known him since he was a little kid playing locally here, and he's not that much older than a little kid, but he's at least a couple years older.
Fun fact about Matt Ferrando, he used to be an intern when I worked in an office, at my office.
Oh yeah. That's a
small world.
Yeah, why not?
Matt Ferrando's list is pretty interesting here. He's only playing 12 guys. He's basically splashing green for Birds and Nature's Claim.
Why not just play Divine Offering? I mean,
he wants to kill enchantments.
Yeah, I guess so. And it's good against this, He's Splinter Twin, pretty good target for an enchantment. And then again,
hey everybody,
kind of,
and welcome.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how much
a little early
expects to see. But the Birds obviously helps him accelerate, as we saw earlier.
It's the end of an era here this morning.
Just being able to have
last
that
day
jump
of Call Blade.
We're about to watch
seems pretty strong.
The top 4 of the Star City Games Open Series.
What about
here in
his
Baltimore.
sideboard? Looks
of
like,
course, the standard.
Yeah, Thrun the last troll like a sideboard.
Later on this morning, and then all throughout the day.
That's pretty hard to cast for his deck, though.
The
Birds are actually pretty hard to cast in his deck too, though. But
it's not
about
I'm sure we're going to see our fair share of Jason Stoneforge Mystics throughout
we
today.
saw that
last
game.
Wait,
it is.
It is.
And I'm Jacob Family.
And the matchup we're going to show you guys.
This isn't.
I'm just playing. I love me Matt Ferrando.
Is Dan Sundyke versus Ali Antrazi. And for those of you who may not have taken a peek at the list or maybe didn't watch yesterday, Ali has
gone to the dark side.
Gone to the dark side and decided to play pretty much a kind of looks like it's a Twin Blade list.
Yeah, it's a Twin Blade list. It looks different than other people's Twin Blade lists. Almost certainly designed by Ali himself.
Yeah.
A man who's known to brew. But about a week and a half ago, we heard Ali online finally saying that he was giving in.
Yeah.
From that point forward, he said as long as he was able to, he would be casting Stoneforge Mystics and Jace the Mind Sculptors. And there he is, yawning early in the morning for him also.
Turns out as long as he was able to, it was about 9 days.
Yeah. So, I mean, he gave in, and then maybe that's what caused them to ban it.
Right.
Like, oh man, Ali's even playing these things?
Yeah, it was, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Or maybe just the nail in the coffin. One of those sayings.
One or the other.
Dan, on the other hand, is playing a pretty much kind of like a classic blue-white version of Callblade. He's got the main deck of Myria Angels, which have been kind of popular recently, and then also a one of Consecrated Sphinx, card we were talking about yesterday. Love that card, and that's one I think we're going to see a lot more of.
The Consecrated Sphinx is definitely a card that will only continue to see more play as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, unless something makes it kind of irrelevant in M12 or Innistrad, which is kind of not likely. I don't know. It seems so good. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
And we're in the game here.
Things change. All right, so Ali leads off with a Celestial Colonnade, and he's going to pass the turn back over to Dan. All right, Dan leads off with a Gitaxian Probe, and Ali shows him a Malin, a Stoneforge Mystic, an Arid Mesa, an Into the Royal, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, and is that a Gitaxian Probe also?
Or is it a Deprive? Maybe is Deprive in the list? It kind of just looks like Deprive. Oh, of course we don't have Ali's list of cards right now. There we go. Now you. So Ali, is he playing Deprive? No. Okay. Must be a Gitaxian Probe. For some reason, with that glare on it, it looked like Deprive. And I didn't think that was crazy coming from Ali.
Oh, definitely not. Like, he's played crazier cards than that many times before. All right, so Ali's going to play that Mountain, and he's going to put a Stoneforge Mystic onto the battlefield. Now we can expect him to search of a Batterskull here.
Yep, there it is. So, first appearance of Stoneforge Mystic this morning, and one of the last here in Standard.
Yeah. It's probably the second to last Standard match I will ever cover with Stoneforge Mystics involved.
So that Mystic eats a Dismember, stranding that Batterskull in Ali's hand until he has 5 mana or another Stoneforge Mystic to cheat it into play. Neither of which are very unlikely. So Dan preordains on his turn. I don't know what he saw there. Looks like he's keeping one, bottoming the other. I think this is just land go, yeah. So, Celestial Colonnade.
Now Ali's got yet another Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, I want to say he has
So
two
now
in
he's just
hand.
going to chain them.
Yeah, so Stoneforge Mystic number 2 from Ali.
At this point, I think you just get a Sword of Feast and Famine.
Well, yeah, I think, well, yeah, I think definitely, yeah. That sword is so good.
It's interesting because a lot of the time, you're tempted to go for War and Peace before Feast and Famine.
Right.
And the Clawblade Mirror. But in this spot, and considering what his hand is, Feast and Famine lets him apply a lot more pressure.
I mean,
And to be honest, he's going to try to put the Batterskull into play before he does any of that anyway.
that sword is basically like a time walk, when you connect. It's just nuts. The pre-combat turn and then the post-combat turn. So
It's
Dan
very
untaps,
powerful.
And
Ooh,
has
and he
a
has a-
second Dismember
Another Dismember.
for the second Stoneforge Mystic.
But he's at 10 already.
Yeah,
He's
it's
been
getting
dismembering.
dangerous. Double
He's getting
dismember.
dismembered.
Yeah. Shedding quite a bit of glistening oil there to dismember Ali's creatures. Gitaxian Probe, Phyrexian. He's just half of his life total has just been Phyrexian mana.
Yeah.
Ali goes to 19 just to fetch. Fetches up a Plains.
And what do you think Ali's going to play this turn? Another Stoneforge Mystic?
I mean, why not? Looks like it seems like it's done a good job so far of taking a nice chunk out of Dan's life total and replacing itself with relevant equipment. So this time it takes a mana leak from Dan, and Dan just plays Celestial Colonnade, passes to Ali. Ali goes with a Preordain? Yeah, Preordain from Ali. So is that Mountain Exarch?
Yeah, does he have a Splinter Twin in hand?
I think that's what he was checking for too. Looks like he put the Mountain on top?
Seem reasonable.
Yeah. So, plays a Mountain, passes the turn. With no blue mana up.
I'm surprised he passed there.
Yeah,
I just cast the sword.
right. Take a mana leak if Dan chooses to use one. Or a Spell Pierce or something. Now Dan adds his first Stoneforge Mystic to the stack, and it resolves, of course. And Batterskull, target number 1 for Dan. Now we were talking yesterday. We had that question from Twitter about Grand Architect in Standard after the bannings, and noticed on our questions, the questions that we ask, like the one-shot questions on the coverage, Ali is already excited to brew with Grand Architect. So a Tech Edge takes out Ali's blue mana source, the Celestial Colonnade, and Ali is stuck with Mountain Plains, but that's enough to cast a Sword of Feast and Famine. Although, unless he draws some blue, it's going to be tough for him to dig back into the game. But he does have...
He does draw the blue there.
Yeah, Glacial Fortress. Dan is just loading up the Batterskull, I think, in the chamber. Oh, and here it goes, fires. There it is.
All right, now.
So they're going to move into combat. Ali has the opportunity, if he wants to tap down that Batterskull, but I think he just... Okay, so they're getting a germ here.
I don't know if he wants to do that, though.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that important.
He could let his opponent attack and then wait till his end step and then tap the Stoneforge Mystic with the Deceiver Exarch. And if his opponent attacks with the Stoneforge Mystic, which he does, then he doesn't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
Then he can just, Deceiver Exarch and...
Oh, 6 mana, Consecrated Sphinx. There he is.
That's an issue.
Yeah, Dan taps out for Consecrated Sphinx, and that puts Ali in a situation where he is going to basically be giving Dan 2 cards in just a few seconds, unless Dan forgets and misses that trigger, which is not likely.
Yeah, I mean, Ali could also just draw a Splinter Twin.
Yeah, and that could be game, so... Oh, wow, so he has an Into the Royal. That'll work. So we found an answer. He
that will work.
Flashes in Deceiver Exarch, untaps his Glacial Fortress, and Into the Royals the Consecrated Sphinx, giving himself a little more time before that Sphinx starts to draw Dan into just a win, pretty much.
So he's going to cast a Sword of War and Peace. Then he's going to equip his Sword of Feast and Famine.
Yeah.
Then he's going to attack. Drop Dan down to 11. And discard a card. He's
Maybe
untap
he'll
all his
discard the
lands.
Sphinx, I think. Excuse me. And we're going to see a Myria Angel here, you think? Or what does he get? He has Batterskull, a Myria Angel. I don't know what the third card is.
I'm not sure.
I keep seeing Batterskull and a Myria Angel, so it looks like a Batterskull.
Yes. So, Batterskull enters the battlefield for LE, and Dan draws another land. But we have to remember, Dan has that unbelievably powerful Consecrated Sphinx
Yeah, and
in hand.
Ali is not in a situation to deal with it now. He's tapped out. So, I mean, Ali has a decent board presence with a Batterskull and a Deceiver Exarch holding a sword, and another sword available for that Exarch or a Germ to pick up. But Dan can easily resolve a Consecrated Sphinx here and get at least 2 cards off of it. And that looks like the plan, so...
All right. Now let's see what Ali can muster up this turn. Did he find the Splinter Twin? No, he did not. He did, however, find a second blue mana, though, which also goes well with his Myria Angel.
Yeah, and the Jace in his hand. That's what it is. That was what the third card was. I forgot. So Jace can just come down and bounce that Sphinx.
Yeah, so he can equip everything onto the batter skull if he wants to.
And that germ is packing some heat there. Batter Skull, sort of Feast and Famine, sort of War and Peace. He plays a Celestial Colonnade and swings with that germ.
I'm surprised he played that Colonnade. They didn't play it after he casts the Emerald Angel.
I guess he just wants the untap. You know, I think he's probably just going to untap into Jace and bounce the Sphinx. That would be my
That seems
guess
reasonable.
here.
He can just force his opponent to tap out again.
Yeah. Keep putting himself in a position to get the Splinter Twin off the
And
top
just win.
and just win, yeah, with no disruption. So Dan discards an island. That germ was an 8/8, right? Plus the however many cards in Dan's hand, which was 3 at the time, as long as Ali stacked those triggers correctly. So that should have been 11 damage. So is Dan may be at 4 now, as soon as we get an update on the life totals.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah. And there's the Jace. And Jace bounces to the Sphinx. And I think he just passed here.
Yeah. Ali has I mean, he had 3 Stoneforge Mystics.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the inevitability of that. The 3 equipment that, like, just 3 equipment were happenstance played in
Yeah.
this game and have ended up dominating the absurdly powerful plays of the opponent, who only drew 1
Right.
of his most powerful card.
Right. Not only did he have the 3 Stoneforge Mystics, but he followed it up with Jace. And Jace bouncing the Sphinx shows you why the Sphinx hasn't really, or was one of the reasons why the Sphinx hasn't really shined yet.
They just have to keep tapping out for it.
Yeah. But interestingly, that Sphinx actually represented 2 more damage when Ali hit with the Sword of War and Peace. So, you know, I don't know that that's going to be relevant because of how big that germ is right now. But, you know, if Dan wins the game or if Dan loses the game just barely, it's interesting how the Sphinx's card draw effect actually may have hurt him.
This is interesting. So Ali can simply bounce the Sphinx and kill his opponent, I believe.
Seems that way. He's got 1 untapped, yeah. So Sphinx draws him into a couple more cards during Ali's draw step.
And here comes Batterskull. Right down Batterskull way.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ali takes game
That'll do
1
it.
in the battle of the blades here. Twin Blade versus Call Blade, and in this case, it was just Call Blade versus Call Blade. Really, I mean, it wasn't. There was no appearance of a Splinter Twin, just an Exarch, which was.
Hey, it was
fairly
pretty
relevant.
tight. Well, I mean, he saved Ali from Ali's own mana base.
Yeah. Then again, he did have. I mean, if he didn't flash in the Exarch, he could have just into the Royal. You know, instead
That's
he's got
true.
to play 2 spells, but.
But that let him untap and then Feast and Famine.
Yeah, Feast and
It's
Famine on the
began,
Exarch,
yeah.
right? So maybe Callblade should just have been running Deceiver Exarch in the Squadron Hawk spot all along. No, I don't know.
Who knows?
We will never know.
We will never know.
It's like that
It's true.
Tootsie Roll commercial. The world may never know. So we're going to be giving away 6 months of premium.
Ooh, 6 months.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
it is. It's about half a year.
Yeah, I mean, think about how much changes in 6 months.
I don't think 6
You
months
know,
ago.
6 months
Callblade,
ago-
What is that?
Yeah, exactly. 6 months ago, it was so cold outside. Like, global warming has really gotten intense.
Yeah, it really
Like,
has.
it's gotten, like, at least 50
40
degrees.
40, 50
yeah,
degrees
40,
colder.
50 degrees warmer.
Yeah,
in 6
warmer,
months.
yeah. It was
No.
colder. Now it's
At this rate, in, like, another 8 months,
It's gonna be like, you know,
everything's just going to be on fire. It's
120,
ridiculous.
130 degrees.
You know, if it always increases exponentially,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how this is going to work out. Not for us.
Yeah,
Not for us.
Well, at least you'll be able to read some Star City Premium while you melt.
That's true. You can always read Star City Premium while you're melting. But we have a trivia question for you guys, and the first person to answer this trivia question, and remember, you should Twitter this at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium, then include your Star City Games username, and the answer to the trivia question. Now, the trivia question for 6 months of free premium is how many Jace the Mind Sculptors are in the top 8 of this tournament?
That was, if you didn't have a question, that's the exact question I was going to ask, though.
Seems like a pretty good
I think
question.
we mentioned it yesterday, so it's good reason that we're both thinking along those lines. I think the next trivia question should be, what was the trivia question yesterday?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, what was the answer to the trivia question we asked during the quarterfinals?
The best trivia question I've heard so far was Gerard asked, "What city are we casting from right now? Where am I? I don't know where I am." And before he did it, he had Rashad cover up the city that we were in on the screen.
That's awesome.
Pretty
I liked,
funny.
I mean, not as great of a question, but it was interesting to see some of the answers. I think Chapin and I asked something about how many copies of Mental Misstep in the top 8 of like the Legacy thing, and somebody answered like Force of Will. Just like, what?
It's not a quantity.
Yeah. We didn't even ask what was like the most common card in the top 8. It was just like, real. Wait. Exactly. Yeah. It was a number between 1 and 32. Force of Will was the answer. So, looking at sideboard in here while we have a minute before the players actually get started. Well, Divine Offering seems.
Yeah, I think Divine Offering's also coming in for Ollie.
Yeah.
Ollie also has some Consecrated Sphinx of his own.
We'll see here.
So Ollie is definitely not bringing in Purge. He's probably not bringing in the extra. No, he probably brings in the extra copy of Batterskull.
Yeah, I mean, seems like a good card.
So he's got a Batterskull, he's got a Jace, Bellerin, and he has 3 Divine Offering. And if he wants to, he can sign in Consecrated Sphinx.
Yeah, Dan, on the other hand, has, I believe, just Dismember, 2 Divine Offerings. I mean, do you really want anything else?
I don't think so.
He's got Condemn, Oust, Flash Freeze, Celestial Purge, Day of Judgment, and Mental Misstep. None of those seem particularly attractive. You know, Mental Misstep doesn't really counter anything but what, Preordain?
And Spell Pierce and Dispel.
And Spell Pierce and Dispel, yeah. That is...
You'd be surprised how good it is to Mental Missteps people's preordains.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I don't know if that's the
it's
only-
I wouldn't side it in. I agree with you.
It's just 1 copy as well. I mean, and basically,
Yeah.
unless he just has something in the main deck that is just not as good as one of Mental Misstep, you know, which I don't think is likely. These lists are pretty tight as it is.
Players shuffling up for game 2. Winner of this player will make it to the finals of the Star City Games Standard Open here in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm Jacob Van Lunen. I'm here with Joey Pasco, and we're about to watch some Twin Blade versus Caw-Blade.
Yeah, it's the final countdown here.
Now
For
Ali
Jason.
hasn't lost a match in this tournament yet.
Oh, wow. I didn't
He
even
started
realize
out
that.
8-0, drew twice to make the top 8, and then won his first round in the top 8 to be here in the top 4. So it's a pretty good run. You know, he's somebody who never really loses. He's so good at Magic, and he's normally playing like the most odd decks. And we haven't really seen him winning much lately, but
It's just a
in the
matter of
past
time, I
week,
think.
you know, he's switched to the Jace and Stoneforge Mystic,
Yeah, I mean,
and I
he's-
feel like that changed everything for this week.
It shows that he's a really good player, and
Yeah.
his handicap, which can also be maybe his strength, is that he brews a lot. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's like maybe he brews the wrong deck, you know, for that tournament. But eventually he's going to hit again, just like he did with, you know, this time last year with Turboland. And you know, at this point he picks up the best deck in Standard, and here he is in the semifinals, a game up against his opponent, Dan Soundike. So absolutely, I'm really excited to see what he does, because this is where players like him shine. You know,
New formats,
in a new
yeah.
format, right? And he's definitely on the Grand Architect train, at least at first, from what I can. From what
I'd
I
like to
understand.
cast Jin to Taxis in Standard.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. So Ali going to Paris.
Ollie's deck is not as immune to mulligans as a normal Caw-Blade deck. Of course, all he has to do is draw a Stoneforge Mystic, and it's like he actually started out with a 10-card hand, even though he mulliganed to 6.
Yeah.
It's a strange world we live in.
It really is. It's like, I mean, they talk about decks that mulligan well, and it's like, what deck mulligans better
than blue-white Caw-Blade?
Caw-Blade, yeah.
Oh, nothing. Nothing ever has. You can very easily go to 4 cards
Yeah.
and have no issue at all putting together a win.
Kind of getting, you know.
I heard, so a good friend of mine, Brad, he was talking to me on the phone one day, and he was saying, previous to the existence of Caw-Blade, I feel like I never won a sanctioned match before where I mulliganed to 4. Online or in person. Said, post Caw-Blade,
All the time.
just constantly winning them.
Every match, every game. Why not?
And obviously he has won some games and I'm all the 4 before that, but,
So Ali follows up Dan's Sea Chrome Coast with an island and a preordain. And I know he saw Jace and something else. And it looks like he's just reordering them. Jaws off the top, and it was Scalding Time. So Dan has the turn to Stoneforge Mystic.
And this hand looks like it's chock full of counter magic. So if Ali can't, muster up a removal spell right away for the Stoneforge Mystic, he may be in a world of trouble where Dan just leans back and plays a reactive game while bashing with Batterskull over and over again.
Yeah, and all I can tell is in Ollie's hand looks like at least 2 fetch lands, possibly 3.
That's interesting that he chose to keep the land on top.
Yeah, I mean
that's true.
Yeah, so there's the Jace. I mean, I guess it didn't matter that much because he was just gonna draw. Yeah, but I mean, why not bottom that fetch land? Yeah, I don't know. So, cracks an Arid Mesa for Plains. We need John Avon to do more full art.
Yeah, more full art lands, please. Those are nice looking lands there. Are those unhinged?
Yeah. So into the Royal for the Stoneforge Mystic, and that'll help slow Dan down a little bit.
Dan also with some interesting islands. Are those Tempest or Mirage?
I thought they were
Saga?
Saga, yeah. I was trying to picture the.
Are they Saga?
Pretty sure they're Saga. I'm almost
Yeah, I
positive
can
they're
kind of
Saga,
see
actually.
the 2 cogs.
That's a friend of mine's favorite island. I know he was trading for them. And, I was trying to look through my stuff. I'm pretty sure it was Saga. So, Batterskull. Is that Batterskull number 2 then for Dan? He did get a Batterskull with the first Stoneforge, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Caw-Blade Mirror.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially games 2 and 3, your opponent brings in Divine Offerings. You really want access to just Batterskulls, because all you have to do is lean on your reactive cards, and you will win.
neither of these guys rock the Inkmoth Nexus backup plan to all that lifelink, but Ollie's got a pretty decent backup plan for lifelink in the Splinter Twin Deceiver Eckhart combo. So Ollie plays a Scalding Tarn into an island and has a Jace Bellerin. It's a Japanese, or the Jace versus Chandra, yeah, the manga Jace. But that gets spell
Good looking
pierced.
Jace.
Yeah. I think it was kind of cool for Wizards to do that. Dan follows up his spell pierce on Ollie's Jace Bellerin with his own Jace the Mind Sculptor. So Dan's side of the board banned in a week.
Yes.
Ollie's side of the board completely legal.
And we can see why it's banned.
Yeah.
The things he is doing right now are not fair.
I don't know. Magic's
Does
all
Ali
about
look
playing
like it's-
unfairly, right?
I guess that's true.
Like trying to do the most
I play a lot of
unfair
combo.
things.
I shouldn't talk about unfair.
Exactly.
Shouldn't talk about unfair that way. Me and unfair, we go way back.
We are taking registration for both the
So,
Legacy and Draft Opens
He
this
vindicates the
morning.
Jace.
Yep.
Both are $30. The Draft Open will be firing at 9 o'clock. Also, we have a player up here who is looking for a blasting station in the hopes of playing some wacky artifact-based combo in Legacy today. If you happen to have a blasting station, perhaps in your EDH deck, if you would be willing to loan it, please come to the stage.
Ricky making an announcement for someone looking for a blasting station.
I appreciate that.
I'm sure the player does too. I mean, he needs to make that announcement when there are more than like 18 people in the room, but I certainly didn't bring my EDH deck. I don't have an EDH deck, but you know, if I had one, I wouldn't have brought it. So,
I thought the
Dan,
blasting station was just the name of the train station in Baltimore.
Yeah, he's
I
like,
didn't-
looking for blasting station. Does anyone know how to get there?
All right.
So, second
Ooh,
Stoneforge
another
Mystic
Stoneforge
from Dan.
Mystic. Dan has successfully resolved 2 Stoneforge Mystics. Well, one of which he got to resolve twice, while Ali has yet to play a single copy.
So he must have put one of those batter skulls back with the Jace. I was like, that's the third batter skull. I didn't realize he had 3. Oh, that's right, he had Jace a second ago. So
And that's another nice little trick. Once you already have equipment that you don't need the excess equipment you're getting with your Stoneforge Mystic, you can just put it back with your Jace, and then as you recast your Stoneforge Mystic,
Yep.
you're just netting
just
cards.
draw a card, yeah. So Ali has a Scalding Tarn to add to the board, but looks like nothing else. So he passes into Dan's double Stoneforge Mystic, plenty of open mana. I mean, we really could just see Batterskull here, couldn't we? I mean, potentially.
I'm surprised Dan didn't.
Batterskull
End of turn.
End of turn, yeah. So he passes back to Ali, and Ali appears to have a Jace. Yeah, there's a Jace the Mind Sculptor
Ooh.
of his own, with 2 mana conveniently up in case of more Spell Pierce shenanigans from Dan. But Dan decides to go with accidentally put Batterskull on the board, but has a mana leak for Jace the Mind Sculptor. And now,
He didn't give up any information with that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was just, I thought he was just viling in Batterskull.
That's what I thought also. I thought he just tapping a guy and dropping into play.
So Batterskull looks like it's going to eat the Divine Offering that Ali was sandbagging there. And,
Ooh, no, he has
not at
the
all.
Spell Pierce.
Dan has a Spell Pierce. Dan, the man with all the answers in this game. So now Ali completely tapped out with nothing on board other than lands. Dan with 2 Stoneforge Mystics and a fresh Batterskull, or a Germ holding a Batterskull, and now 6 up to 7 mana to play with here. So it looks like he's just getting in with the Germ and Stoneforge Mystic, one of the Stoneforge Mystics doing a nice little Squire impression.
Now, this is going to put Ali has 2 more turns before he dies.
Yeah, Ollie's in pretty big trouble here because the first Jace he played was just a Vindicate. The second Jace he played, yeah, well, Consecrated Sphinx might help. But Dan has plenty of mana. He's viling in Batterskull and appears to be casting another bit of counter magic here.
Maybe it's a blasting station?
I don't think it's a blast. If it is, it's good for Ollie
Yeah.
for a number of reasons.
Maybe thinking about him with Tendalion. But in all seriousness, double Dismember.
Double Dismember on a Consecrated Sphinx. Wow.
And that's
Was that
brutal.
8 life? Did he just pay 8 life? Yeah, he did. Had to.
Yeah.
And Ali says, I
Like
can't.
conceits. Yeah. That's
I
all you
can't
can
fight
do.
through. He had an answer for everything Ali played. Ali goes for Jace the Bellerin, and that gets spell pierced. Jace the Mind Sculptor's just a Vindicate. Second Jace gets Mana Leaked. Consecrated Sphinx gets double Dismember. Like, Dan just had all the right answers at all the right times in that game.
Yeah, when looking at Dan's opening hand, it was very hard to imagine a scenario in which he lost. He had the Stoneforge Mystic he needed, and then he just had tons of blue cards.
Yeah.
And when you're up against that type of hand, when it's on the play, it's always very, very bad for you.
But Ali gets a chance to take this match. He's on the play here.
Yeah, being on the play is very important, especially in a matchup like this.
So, do you think Ali boarded out his spell pierces and now is finding a way to make them work them back into the deck?
I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, it's definitely going to help him fight a Jace War.
Do you think he brings in Lightning Bolt?
I was
for the
actually
Stoneforge
wondering
Mystics?
whether or not he brings the Lightning Bolt myself. I know for certain that Jerry was not siding out both of his Lightning Bolts. I think he might have been siding out one in the mirror, the Twin Blade mirror.
I mean, it seems like it's
But-
the removal spell for a Stoneforge Mystic. It also hits a Myria Angel. Double Bolt, obviously. He's only got 2 there, but can kill a Consecrated Sphinx. And
it
obviously
seems like
hits
could
Hawks.
be,
That's always the least attractive one to hit, I think, the Squadron Hawks. But if you need to hit it in response to an equip, it's just the 1 mana answer.
Yeah, Ali doesn't have a lot of room to play around the sideboard space here, but
Right.
the spell's kind of a funny card.
Yeah. It is.
Very, very narrow,
It's
but
definitely
a great deal of value.
Absolutely, it's really good in the Splinter Twin decks because of its ability to protect your combo. Because really, they have to interact with you at instant speed when you're playing. When you've got that combo, they can only interact with that combo at instant speed, and Dispel is the perfect foil for that. The problem is when they go, turn 1 discard spell or something, and you've got the 2 combo pieces in hand. That Dispel is not very attractive.
Yeah, there are a few matches where Dispels will sit in your hand as dead cards. Luckily, Jace the Mind Sculptor lets you play cards that will occasionally be dead.
Yeah.
You simply put them back on the top of your library, and then crack a fetch land or play a Stoneforge Mystic, and then you get other cards. Nice rebuys. Now, looking at Ali's sideboard, so if he brought in the Sphinxes, do we think he maybe took out the Ameri Angels? That would seem really awkward here.
Yeah, I mean,
Because that card seems great here.
right. So that doesn't seem.
I'm just trying to think about what he could have taken
Is
out.
there a chance he took out the combo just to make his deck into more of a Call Blade? Make this match really into even more of a Call Blade mirror. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday with some other players, potentially siding out either the Splinter Twin, the twin half of the deck, or the Blade half of the deck. And it's
Seems
interesting kind of
very difficult to choose which you...
put your shirt back on.
Wow. I got like ninja'd there. It's like...
I'm gonna catch him with a shirt off.
yeah. You guys don't know what goes on when we're commentating the games, you know?
We're pretty good at commentating while doing
Yeah.
other things. Wait. No, anyway.
Like this is a human costume. I'm actually a dinosaur. Luckily, I was able to get the human suit on
Oh, it
before.
was just that
you
one
know.
arm is the dinosaur, right? Like
What, I don't know what you're talking about.
Mimeoplasm. Haven't you seen the art on mimeoplasm? That's that one.
I have seen the art of mimeoplasm.
And one arm is a dinosaur. It's just like a T-Rex. It's like not the T-Rex's arm, but a T-Rex's head.
The T-Rex itself.
Yeah.
Like one of those things you buy like at a boardwalk when you're a kid, where you squeeze the
Kind
thing
of,
and it
except
like
it's bigger,
closes
and
the
I
mouth.
think the hand is just literally a T-Rex's head. So I guess you're just like, I need to grab my
So you
soda
can like
and
pick
you
up
just,
things. You just
Yeah.
use the T-Rex head.
T-Rex's teeth.
It's like,
yeah.
oh man, now I'm getting my soda all over myself.
Yeah,
This was a
should not
disaster.
have squeezed so hard.
Maybe I shouldn't have used my T-Rex arm for this
My
activity.
sharp T-Rex teeth. Well, for those of you just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco in the booth here with Jacob Van Lunen. We are watching the top 4 of the Star City Games Open Series here in Baltimore. Final weekend for Jace, the Mind Sculptor, and Stoneforge Mystic, and as expected, both of those cards had, they're pretty strong, and they're
not
showing
bad
up here
cards.
in the top 4. And we've got Ali Antrazi versus Dan Sondike here. Both guys with one win. So game 3, Ali on the play leads with a preordain, and Dan decides to match it.
So Ollie has both of those copies of Bolt here in his hand right now. It's going to ensure that he will have a significant advantage in the Stoneforge War.
Yeah, and so he did bring them in, I guess. That answers my question.
Yeah.
He can just hold them for that Consecrated Sphinx too. I don't know that that's likely, but if Dan doesn't play a Stoneforge Mystic,
The double.
double bolt your Consecrated Sphinx. So Ali has the turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic. It's pretty scripted, really.
Yeah.
These opening turns. It's after these opening turns when it gets interesting.
All right,
So Dan wants to see Ali's hand. He has Gataxian Probe, and we have Mountain, Batterskull, Lightning Bolt. Is that Jace? And then
Yeah.
Arid Mesa?
That sounds right to me. That seems like a pretty good hand. I mean, he needs a second blue for his Jace, but he has
He has Mountain.
he has an effective way to deal with the Stoneforge Mystic from Daniel Sondike.
And Dan has the Dismember for the
And-
Stoneforge Mystic.
He'll drop to 14.
Yeah, and adds a Glacial Fortress to the board and passes back to Ali. So Ali plays a Mountain and passes back to Dan. Dan has double Mystic to Ali's double Bolt.
The Mystic does come out ahead on the exchange, but Bolt is a necessary thing to have
Yeah.
to neuter the power level of the Mystics.
So Ali plays an Arid Mesa, passes back to Dan. We're just doing a draw go here. Dan's hand looks like Mana Leak, Jace. I couldn't tell what that third card was, but we know he has Mystic.
Ali drawing more non-blue lands. It's got to be frustrating.
Yeah.
But again, that's definitely an issue that happens to
Yeah.
the deck that he chose this
That's
weekend.
exactly what you were talking about yesterday when we first brought up the Twin Blade decks. It's power versus consistency. He's got the power. It's the consistency that can sometimes not show up, or sometimes just the blue mana sources.
So Ali has, he's posted a bunch of reasonable finishes. Very, very recent, very recent past.
Yeah.
He also is the founder of the Mud deck that plays
yeah.
blue over red. So he's casting blue cards like Thought Cast, where other people are casting cards like Goblin Welder.
Yeah, definitely love that one. So Dan adds a Stoneforge Mystic into a Batterskull, and Ali has the Bolt.
Now, Dan's missed a bunch of land drops here, but Ali has done worse than miss land drops. Ali has hit the land drops with lands that are actually irrelevant.
Yeah.
Every Plains amount he draws at this point is just a dead card.
So that in mind, he is trying to get them out of his deck.
Yes.
So here's one of the answers we got for Jace. Number of Jaces in the top 8. Wrong way go back, which is Neil Talbot. He's Australian, actually living in Hong Kong, I believe. I follow him on Twitter. 80 minimum was his answer for Jace the Mind Sculptor in the top 8. And that's also a reference.
Sounds a little low. Little low.
That's a reference to another podcast, actually. The A-Team podcast. They were joking about the value of Tezzeret, and somebody said 80 minimum. back when Mirrodin Besieged was released. Although that was a joke, of course. So Ali has the Batterskull Hardcast, and Dan has the Divine Offering.
That's some nice Divine Offering art.
Yeah, that's the Mirage. Is that Therese Nielsen? I want to say. I'm pretty sure that's Therese Nielsen who did the artwork for that Divine Offering. One of my favorite artists.
Ooh.
So Ali's hand is packed. He's got both versions of Jace, Splinter Twin, Consecrated Sphinx, and Lightning Bolt.
Imagine if we had a second blue mana.
Yeah.
Dana would have just been crushed this game.
Yeah. Especially missing the land drops like he is. That Cataxian Probe is going to help him out a little bit. Looks like he hit his 4th land there.
All right, let's. Did Dan hit his 4th land?
He did, a Tectonic Edge. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, that's very good for him. So that strips Ali of some outs in the form of Celestial Colonnade.
Yeah. And Dan plays Jace the Mind Sculptor, which resolves and Fate Seals Ali. So he puts it on the bottom, making Ali's top still live. And yeah, Ali's going to make that happen anyway. It was Glacial Fortress he put on the bottom. Pretty relevant.
Woof. So Dan just left it there, huh?
No, he didn't. He put it on the bottom.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because it was a blue mana source. But, Ali.
I'm surprised Ali cracked the land then.
Well, I guess he figures. Well, yeah, I guess
You can save it to block Fate Seals.
Yeah, it seems like doing it when somebody leaves it on top seems like a better play. But in this case, I mean, he is trying to just strip his deck of plains and mountains, it seems like.
Okay.
So Dan hits his 4th land drop before Ali can hit his 2nd blue source, and dropping Jace the Mind Sculptor. This is it's not looking good for Ali until he can get that 2nd blue and take care of that Jace.
Trying to think of a sequence of plays that works for Ali here. Dan has plenty of counter magic in his hands. This is going to be really difficult if Ali wants to win.
Yeah, I mean, notably Dan also put that Jace out of bolt range. I mean, it was probably the right play anyway, just to Fate Seal, because knowing Ali's looking for blue mana. But the nice side effect is that Jace is out of bolt range, and he knows that Ali is holding the bolt. So, looks like he +2s Jace again.
And this looks like his route to victory.
Yeah.
And I think this is an underused facet of Jace.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I often cast the Jace and then just take it up until I ultimate my opponent.
Right. It's 6 turns, 6 turns from when you cast it, you win. 6 activations.
Especially if you're ahead, just Fate Sealing them out.
Yeah.
Makes the game so hard for them.
And, with a handful of answers, like Dan has, and now threats. He adds a threat to the board here. With a handful of answers, you can kind of protect that Jace pretty well.
So Dan Sunday cast a Stoneforge Mystic here. And what do you think he's going to grab?
I think a Batterskull is probably...
Oh, really? A Batterskull? Let me search for a Batterskull. All right. So, I guess he's just going to pass the turn, leaving mana open.
Yeah, lightning bolt for the Stone Forge Mystic. Dan's fine with that.
And Ali finds the glacial fortress that he's been looking for so long.
What this does is he can Jace and then pay for a mana leak.
And that's pretty good.
It's exactly what he needs right now. I mean,
It's exactly what he needs right now.
Dan can't double Spell Pierce, Dan can't mana leak Spell Pierce, and even better, he can Jace. I forgot he even had Jace Bellerin.
And because Dan decided to Fate Seal Ali, he was punished there and missed out on a pair of Brainstorms that he could have gotten.
Yeah. But, I mean, it still was probably the right play just because trying to keep Ali off blue sources. We know he put Glacial Fortress on the bottom with the first Fate Seal. We don't know what he put on the bottom with the second one, but if it was a blue source,
yeah, we never know.
Maybe he just had blue on the top. Well, it was. He did shuffle in between there, but maybe the top two were just double blue source. And, that's the live top deck always in danger of being relevant. So.
Ooh, so...
Surprisingly, Dan does not Tech Edge. I guess he just, Jason Mind Sculptor
Instead,
seems like a reasonable choice. Now, in this case, I think he Brainstorms, right?
Now?
Knowing that Ali is just going to...
Although doesn't he know Ali is second bolt?
I think Ali's used both bolts, hasn't he? Pretty sure he has.
Oh, used both now?
He's used both, yeah. So, no, he Fate Seals with Jace. That's interesting, because doesn't he know... I mean, Ali has Jace and can pay for mana leak, so... 5, 6. Yeah. Consecrated Sphinx. That's a pretty spicy card. We've already seen that do some work, and he adds a Seachrome Coast to the board, so now he's got triple blue. So Tectonic Edge, a blue source, isn't as impressive. But here we go, double Dismember from Dan for that Consecrated Sphinx.
That's going to drop Dan down to 9.
Did Ali draw his cards off that Sphinx? Or no, it was during his untap,
upkeep.
yeah. Untap upkeep, yeah. So that's about the only answer Dan could have had there to deal with a Sphinx before Ali was able to draw cards off of it.
Yeah, but you're never upset as a Splinter Twin player when your opponent uses 2 Dismembers on a single guy.
Yeah.
Dan Sondike casts Preordain. He is looking hard for some type of action. He has a pretty solid hold on this game right now.
He's not looking that hard, because if he was looking hard for action, he'd be brainstorming.
Oh, yeah.
And he's chosen with the 3 activations of Jace that he's had so far. First, the first two on the first Jace, and the first one on this have all been Fate Seals. And he's still, he's got the rest of his turn to use this Jace. But, I'm not really sure. He knows that Ali has a Jace the Mind Sculptor in hand.
Perhaps he wants to save some mana for counter magic. But he's going to need more blue if he wants to counter a Jace.
Yeah, I mean, he's double dismembered using blue mana sources. And then Preordained, so he's down to a blue, Glacial Fortress and a Tectonic Edge. So Ali has 3 blue sources, so he can keep Ali from casting 2 blue spells in a turn, but there's no blue spell that he can keep Ali from playing. No single blue spell he can keep Ali from playing, and namely, I'm thinking Jace the Mind Sculptor with mana up to pay for mana leak. So now he goes with the Brainstorm. Get some value out of that Jace before Ali vindicates it with his own copy.
Alright. See what Dan's doing there is Dan, like any good player, scans his graveyard, scans his opponent's graveyard. By doing this, you know what's left in your opponent's deck.
What's left in your own deck.
Yeah. What cards you're more likely to draw, what cards you're less likely to draw. Because your deck changes. It's this ever-changing thing. As you draw more cards, your deck's numbers all change, and as a result, the probability of you drawing specific cards changes. and your ability to change your line of play to the correct play, depending on the current configuration of your deck, is something that's very important.
So Dan adds a Scalding Tarn to the board and passes back to Ali. So Ali has 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 8 mana available. So
Yeah, 3 of which is blue,
yeah.
which is very important.
What that means, though, is that if Dan has Mana Leak Spell Pierce for Ali's Jace the Mind Sculptor, Ali can't pay it unless he has another land in hand to play. And it appears that is not to be the case. At least not not before casting this Jace, which is exactly when it's relevant. So Ali is going to need a counter spell of his own.
Let's see. Yep, he goes for the Mana Lake. If you're Ali, do you just pay it?
Yeah. I mean, do you play around Spell Pierce? Because here's the situation. Like, if he can pay for Mana Leak, and then hopefully, Ali needs some sort of counter magic here if Dan has a Spell Pierce. So he pays it, and it looks like I think we're just going to see a Spell Pierce now from Dan. And if
That doesn't even seem so bad for Ali.
For Ali, I mean, you don't get rid of that Jace. I think is the
Yeah,
important thing. Now,
it's bad, but
right.
it
So
could
there's a
certainly
Spell
be
Pierce.
worse.
So, I mean, if Ali has a Spell Pierce, that seems pretty good for Ali. No, he doesn't. Okay. And now he's left himself open to a Tectonic Edge on that one blue source that's untapped. Not that if he didn't have the Spell Pierce there, he doesn't have the Spell Pierce, but
Does Ali have the combo in hand?
I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't seen his hand in a while. Squadron Hawk from Dan. Is that the first Squadron Hawk we've seen in this match?
Yes. It's the first time we've seen a Hawk cast. Which is funny, because Hawks are something normally
It is,
flying all over the place.
that's what the call means in Call Blade. Yeah. Puts the call in the Call Blade.
At this point, I don't even like Hawks in real life, let alone like in Magic. I was hiking the other day, I
What's
saw
wrong
a
with Hawks?
Hawk. I was like, get out of here. Like, I am sick of your mulligan resistant, tail feathers.
Hello, 9 o'clock. That means we're making the last call for draft open registration.
All right, so
Last call
Dan's
for
gonna
draft
brainstorm
open
now.
registration.
And I wonder what 2 cards he's going to put back. Well, he's going to put back 2 Squadron Hawks. And then he's going to cast another Squadron Hawk. And then look, he just built his own Ancestral Recall.
Yeah. That's a pretty good card. So he matches Ali's Lightning Bolts with the blue version of the Lightning Bolt.
Ancestral Recall?
Yeah, exactly. News from the other table: Jason Ford playing Twin Blade defeated Paul Longo playing Valakut to head to the finals. Jason Ford 2-1 over Paul Longo. So Jason Ford, Twin Blade, we know that's going to make it to the finals. So what we're going to see is either a repeat of this matchup, Twin Blade versus Call Blade if Dan wins, or a Twin Blade mirror if Ali wins. Things are looking pretty good for Dan right here. He was able to capitalize on the fact that Ali could not find his second blue for about the first 7 turns of the game. Maybe not so long, but Ali now has Jace the Mind Sculptor to deal with that Jace on the other side of the table, but it may be too late at this point. I mean, you never know, but Dan has now gotten 2 activations off of that Jace. Two brainstorm activations. That's
Yeah,
what I mean.
and
He's got
so
several
once-
activations.
Once you get multiple brainstorms off of Jace and then force your opponent to use a Jace to remove it,
Yeah.
you've
Just really big
put a
edge,
huge
yeah.
dent in them. Yeah. Ali must really be hoping that his opponent just doesn't have counter spells. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Ali does not run Gitaxian Probe, or does he? No, it's Dan that runs Gitaxian Probe. Dan is preordaining right now. So on top of those brainstorms, Dan has preordained multiple times, just packing his hand with business. In with 2 Hawks.
Ooh, let's...
Drops Ali to 16. Now the life totals here, I mean, Ali does have twice as much life as Dan. Dan can't pull off any double dismember shenanigans at the moment.
That's true.
Although, there's no consecrated Sphinx to deal with, double dismember is not so important. Double Deceiver Exarch may require double dismember. But Batterskull will change that equation quite a bit, and we know that Dan has 1, if not 2, in hand.
And that's just scary.
Yeah.
I mean, the inevitability of multiple Batterskulls is...
So he
it's going to be hard to win the game without comboing.
The 3rd Hawk hits Dan's side of the board, and then he tech edges Ali's Glacial Fortress. So Ali back down to 2 blue sources. Dan plays a Glacial Fortress and passes to Ali. I believe, yeah. So Ali flashes in Deceiver Exarch. Mana Leak.
Ali really had to go for it there.
Yeah, well, at least he
It looks like he has extra.
yeah, he stripped a Mana Leak from Dan's hand, and Dan's already played at least 1 other Mana Leak. So we know Ali doesn't have to fight through. Let's see, how many dismembers does Dan play total? 1, 2, 3. So he's got 4 total. So there's only 2 more dismembers and Dan's 75 available. Yeah, and
That's something you really want to show to your opponent.
yeah, not really cool, but Ali. So Dan has a Gitaxian Probe, and Ali shows him Exarch Twin. But that's pretty scary too, because if Dan looks at his hand and goes, "I don't have an answer for that. I need to pretend I do."
Yeah, sometimes it's all you can do.
Yeah.
Put on your best poker face.
Yeah. So Ali takes a peek through his own graveyard.
Dan's poker face.
This is the final call for the first draft open. We have exactly 4 seats available. If you want to grab one of those seats, be it like
If Dan casts a spell, he just dies.
Tectonic Edge. That could be pretty relevant to take out Ali's 2nd blue source. Not, incredibly relevant when Exarch Twin is what you're fighting, but Dan, Ali wants double blue, and it's just keeping him off that extra blue source. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. Could definitely pay off, especially at this point in the game where Dan has 7 other lands in play besides the Tech Edge.
I'm surprised Ali didn't float some manas there.
Yeah, why not? Unless he just doesn't.
Perhaps he did, and we just don't know.
Right. He may have just said float. No surprises. He's got Exarch Twin. Dan knows it. And so he has the blue source for the Exarch. I guess he could double Exarch. And that may be the plan. But
All right.
let me see your graveyard. Now he's doing the same thing that you were saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances you have Dismember or more Mana Leaks? So yeah, he did float a blue. Plays an Exarch, taps down a Glacial Fortress, and here comes, looks like Exarch number 2. And tap another Glacial Fortress. So Dan left with 3 untapped lands.
Yeah.
And Ali, we know he has a Splinter Twin. Now it all just matters. It all hinges on whether Dan has an answer for Splinter Twin.
Ooh, now he can pay for a Mana Leak, too.
He certainly can, but he doesn't have a Mana Leak. And that's
it.
Wow.
Ali makes it to the finals.
Oh, oops, I win.
Yeah.
Not
didn't
necessarily
have
oops,
it?
it wasn't off the top, but he played that perfectly.
Yeah, he really did. He got his opponent to use removal spells, counter spells, all in the spots where he needed his opponent to do those things, and it got him there.
Wow, fantastic. Congratulations to Ali Aintrazi for making it here into the finals with Twin Blade. And, if that's not a perfect example of
playing the long game to resolve your combo.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he
That's pretty
sculpted that game very well.
Yeah, it was really impressive because
Impressive
I kind
game.
of felt like, watching it, I just felt like Ali was on the ropes for so much of that game.
Oh, he was, yeah.
Can't hit his second blue. Finally hits it and it gets tech edge.
I mean, he had his opponent to go double dismember on his Consecrated Sphinx.
Right. So he drew no cards off of Consecrated Sphinx, no cards off of Jace Beleren, no cards off of Jace the Mind Sculptor. Every Jace that he played was a Vindicate or just met a counterspell. And, it was still, he just stripped his opponent of all the answers.
You want to know what?
At the right time. What?
I am spinning with excitement because Mitch 360 just won 6 months of premium.
I didn't even see you spin, and I'm right next to you. You're supposed to say you're spinning with excitement when the camera's off of you. So, quick, go to the crowd shot.
That
and then,
people- that way
you can
people
say
would
you're
know.
spinning with excitement, and then you come back and you just missed
Well,
it.
how do they know we're not like on a spinning booth that like rotates?
The whole booth is spinning with excitement. So, Mitch 360, you win 6 months of Star City Premium. Congratulations. We'll be giving away 1 year very soon, and in the finals. So it sounds like the finals is going to be a Twin Blade mirror match. So people have been saying for the past week or so that Twin Blade is the best version of Call Blade, and that Twin Blade is the best version of the Splinter Twin decks. So we're going to see the best version of the Splinter Twin decks versus the best version of the Call Blade decks in a mirror match here in the finals. Jason Ford versus Ali Antrazi. So,
Two very strong players.
yeah, that's
Ali is a fan favorite. So he's got a rogue deck, plays
Yeah, he's usually-
perfectly, brilliant dude.
Yeah, he's
Fun to
usually the fan favorite
kind.
because of his deck, and in this
But
case,
Jay Ford, I mean,
it's a
you
familiar
won a
name.
GP
Yeah,
earlier this year. He's friends with a lot of friends with Rhino and people. Like people love some Jay Ford, and Jay
Yeah.
Ford's a good player.
I mean,
I've played against Jay Ford. Jay Ford played better than I did. I don't know if that says much.
I mean,
but
I know if I'm Ali, I'm afraid of any opponent whose name begins with Jace.
It's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
It's really scary.
Jeez. His name
I
starts
got the
with
face
Jace.
palm from Jeremy over there. It's right there. I mean, I got to just reach out and grab some of these when they're hanging in front of me like that. So if you're just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco. Unfortunately, my name does not begin with Jace. Yours is a little closer
Yeah.
with the JAC.
Jason Van Lunen.
Jason Van Lunen here in the booth with me.
That's me.
In Baltimore, going to the finals, the final match for the Star City Open Series Standard, where
This
Jace
is the
Mind
last.
Sculptor and Stoneforge Mystic are legal.
Yeah, this is the last match, sanctioned match, that any of you will ever see in your entire lives.
I need a tissue.
That includes Stoneforge Mystic and Jace the Mind Sculptor.
It's sad.
I feel like I'm dying of boredom. Like, come on, get banned already, right? I'm kidding.
I'm
but
really sad. I mean, it is the end of an era, and
I think this is a cool way for it to go out, though.
Absolutely.
Because this is a cool version of a Jace Stoneforge deck.
yeah, absolutely.
This
Totally
is
agree.
not Call Blade. This is not
not
Dark
exactly
Blade.
right.
This is Twin Blade. This is the dark depths of the format.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great that no matter what happens, Jace and Stoneforge can go out singing "We Are the Champions."
Yeah, I mean, the finals has 8 copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor and 8 copies of Stoneforge Mystic.
The top 8 had 20 copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor. That was the
It did.
answer to our trivia question, which I don't think we announced exactly. We announced our winner, but did we
We
announce?
did. We did not. Well, we didn't
Didn't say
announce
what the
the
answer was.
answer was, but
So
20.
that's right, 20 Jace the Mind Sculptors. Yeah, we put them
Imagine
on-
having them all in a stack, and then playing a game with them. You'd feel so awesome because Jace the
Unless
Mind
you couldn't
Sculptor
draw
is
your second blue
such a
source.
mythic, rare, awesome card. You know.
If like Ali, you couldn't hit that second blue, it's not that awesome.
Yeah.
I've got a handful of Jaces. Still had all these Jaces. Can't cast them.
Nice red splash.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly. His splash color. He had 4 mountains in play before he had 2 blue sources. Wow. But
I mean, you got to play that many. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're just not going to cast your Splinter Twin ever.
yeah, he had he still won that game.
He did still win that game.
We saw some pretty brutal variants in the quarterfinals last night with Paul Longo versus Nate Chafe, where Nate activated Jace the Mind Sculptor, I don't know, like 1 trillion times?
Maybe a little less. Maybe a little more.
Maybe a billion
yeah.
plus. And it was
you
he
saw
drew
all
more
the
lands.
lands.
Yeah, I think he drew every land that was in the room at the time. And
Yeah.
no business.
It didn't even make sense to me.
No, he was
No, it was
swamped.
actually like it was like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern situation. You know, he's sitting there and like every single time he like brainstorms the Jace, and you see him, he draws like 3 lands. One of them's a fetch land. He puts 2 lands back at the top of his library, plays the fetch land, and then shuffles
Cracks
them away.
it, shuffles them away.
Next turn, draws first turn, land. Brainstorm, 3 lands. Put 2 lands on top. Fetch land,
Fetch away.
shuffle those 2 away. Next turn, draw land, brainstorm, 3 lands.
It was, I don't know that I can remember seeing something that just ridiculous, in such a bad way. Like, Paul, the Valakut player, was just drawing off the top of the deck. And all it took was just, a couple turns.
He found a
Finally,
Primeval
he draws
Titan.
into Primeval Titan, that was it. It was very Oops, I Twin, except it was Primeval Titan instead of Splinter Twin off the top. But when all you see are lands, I mean, that's how it goes.
Well, Primeval Titan's a 1-card combo.
Yeah.
You know, he
I think
will.
it kind of needs Valakut, though.
If you untap with him and play,
That's
You're-
true. It is
it-
kind of a
it-
1-card combo. It
you
just gets the
kill
Valakut.
him.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much what happened. But yeah, so I don't know if the players are shuffling up at this point, but we'll be not yet. Okay, so we'll be bringing you the finals pretty soon. What's that? Okay, well, yeah, we're gonna take a break and then we'll be back with the finals.
See you shortly.
Yeah.